Recorder. So welcome. So for many of you, I was going to refresh this and see it goes to Zoom. I've been coming to these meetings for a while, but typical agenda, just a little bit of introduction, and that's really focused on the ongoing projects in the district, updates, and then continued conversation about park issues and concerns, meeting to meeting, and then wrap up on next steps. In terms of key staff involved, myself, the Director of Planning and Research, and my partner Z, Director of Inclusion and Engagement, but also from time to time, our senior team is involved, that being our Executive Director, Stephanie, Director of Park Administration, who deals with the capital projects, Greg, Katie, who handles all of our fundraising and communications, and then Jimmy Coyle, who has stepped up as our interim Director of Operations while Bob Stotz is out having a hip replaced.
Really?
So,
I didn't
he'll
know.
be gone for a few months.
He's the one who was
And Jimmy's been getting groomed to step up to the job. More focused on this district, District 1. Supervisor, newly promoted, Anthony White, and other folks that you see from time to time throughout the system. Mike Sawyer, who's in charge of our forestry team, Charlie Carr, who takes care of our facilities, and specifically in our district, here one, the circles and plantings manager, Eileen Martin. I've sort of pared it all down to one slide in terms of what this Olmsted Community Alliance is all about. Really, its purpose is quite simply strengthening the relationship between the people who maintain the park, the Conservancy, the property owners, and our public partners, the City of Buffalo, and the communities that use the park, benefit from the park, and take pride in their local parks. So really, the objectives are really simply just keeping that open dialogue, connect faces with names, sort of break down those barriers. We're always focused on our 5-year plan, which is our capital investment planning related to projects and improvements in the parks, and also just continuing to raise awareness and outreach, educate people about the value of these parks, but also get them more engaged through stewardship and volunteerism. So with that introduction, again, for people new to the process, District 1B relates to our operations district, but it's really focused on the west side parks. So that's Front Park, Prospect Park, Davies Park right nearby, and our parkways and circles, Porter, Symphony, Richmond, up to Ferry. So really sort of this geographic neighborhood, and we also do this same process 4 other different times around the city because we have such a wonderful and large park and parkway system all around Buffalo. So focus on the projects and the progress. These have been, churning through these projects over and over, but we continue to sort of refine the design. So the update related to the Front Park perimeter enhancements, there's a lot on here, but we've gone over this several times, but just to sort of focus, we've been engaged in sort of working with the city on trying to prevent vehicles from driving where they shouldn't, trying to prevent vehicles from speeding and creating unsafe environments where pedestrians might come through. Gone through this process, identified some key needs, which were sort of protection from the roadway at the playground area, concern about the gates, we'll circle back on that, conversation about the speed tables on the plaza, we'll circle back on that, and incorporating into the plan vegetation along West Avenue. So we've seen those improvements incorporated. Quickly back on some of the details. So again, on the plaza, issues with cars coming in and doing donuts and having drag races all through here. A series of speed tables, which is basically like an elongated speed bump, are proposed kind of on both axes of this space to kind of break up the space. There was previously, and I guess I'm looking for input on a plan to sort of colorize the asphalt along these corridors. But in our review at the Conservancy's Design Review Committee, we thought that was for one going to not wear well in this climate, but also was just going to be a distraction in this case versus just basically doing the job of traffic calming without calling attention to itself with some sort of cross shape, breaking up the physical space of the plaza. So that and those comments have been revised, and basically you're seeing the result of that, which is just basically the speed tables aligned.
Brian, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is there so much concrete there?
So this is original Olmsted feature, and really the purpose of this plaza, sort of the whole design of the park, was to take advantage of the tremendous view
Right.
of the Lake and River.
Right.
So this was a very popular spot to come in the evening and look out, watch the sunset.
It was a promenade park, from what I understand, when there were a lot of mansions along Porter, right? McDonald's and all that.
Asphalt hadn't been invented yet for the century.
Okay, all right.
So then it was asphalted after the fact. But yeah, it would have been a loose gravel area, in addition to the sort of raised mountain out of gardens around the edge. So it's a historic feature. The context of the park obviously has changed quite a bit with the 190 and the Peace Bridge and the ramps. So the bigger issues of sort of historic preservation, rethinking, redesigning, reconfiguring, and our sort of managing our historic integrity is something that we're going to grapple with relatively soon. We're drafting an RFP. We have funding in place to update our National Register nomination. So that would be the time where we might bring up these sorts of issues with the State Historic Preservation Office and discuss, this is problematic, you know, are there other solutions we consider in terms of our long range planning, but the idea of sort of dismantling our Olmsted historic.
Where was the building that was in that park?
Well, so it depends what you mean. If you mean the bunker for Frank.
No, I remember that building.
Okay. The Lakeview House.
Lakeview House.
On this square, right, a rectangle right here, right in the center.
Okay.
Beautiful kind of Victorian 3-story building with verandas all around. So that is again a long-term project in our long-term master plan. It hasn't risen to the priority of 5-year plan priorities as of yet. We'll revisit that next year.
Are these in place yet, or they're coming next year?
They're finalizing design. They're going to bid it out end of this month, pending, review here at this body on the most recent modifications, and it'll be a spring 2023 install. So we can pop back on this. The only other area I wanted to focus in on, as it's been sort of evolving, is the idea of a gate. So another issue within this park is people hanging out after hours, coming into the park where they're sort of away from the street and the various activities occurring. This has been confirmed by neighbors along West Eye Avenue. So as a component of this project, there's plans to install a solar gate at the entrance. So at 10 p.m., the park will be closed, and the park will be physically closed. Features of that are, all the new technology and automation, so that it can be managed by phone by people with codes. Also, if you're in the park and you're trying to leave, the gates will open up if you come out on the backside. But reinforcing the park's closure, and again, all of this effort is not to sort of let law enforcement off the hook, but it's really to support them. They've got a big territory, they've got a big job to do. So if we could do some things to physically prevent, things.
Are they involved at all in this discussion? Have they come to any meetings? Has it been presented to precinct? I believe it's precinct B still. Yeah. Has it been presented to precinct B at their meeting?
The city is coordinating with them and fire and emergency services through this process. So this is kind of at their request.
And I also think it was through the council member's office, right?
Mm-hmm.
The council member that, yeah, Rivera was, I think it was Rivera was talking also about this with the police and
Yes.
coordinating that. At a couple of our meetings, I think he spoke about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the two new sort of refinements. But I'd say at this point in time, we've done this a few times, and I think this is ready to roll, unless there are other concerns to wrap up as part of this conversation. I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking.
No, it's just sad, right?
It's sad.
That people have just are so used to disrespecting public spaces that you have to do all this to,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, the thought is that this is placing boulders out in the lawn it's a permanent in terms of it's a fixed object that will
So in the lawn you're gonna put various like boulders in like the middle of the lawn?
Along the edge.
Along the edge,
edges,
okay.
Yeah. So it's fortified per perimeter. We're going to continue to sort of talk through how we landscape or how we maintain around them. It's more of an operational decision. But
how big are boulders? Like 6
they'll be roughly about 2 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide space.
That's not going to stop people from going in that park. You know that.
It's the same ones in MLK Park.
It'll stop people from driving.
From driving,
yeah,
but
Oh,
not
yeah.
from walking in.
Yeah.
No. We want people to walk it.
Yeah, even after hours though.
Well,
I was just thinking like, the technology to put a gate, like, we'll just call it the border.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't this isn't like this isn't a physical impediment that will make police completely free to ignore the parks all evening. It's just going to keep the cars out. It's also if people bring dirt bikes around, which is another issue. They will also be able to get in, but it just sort of helps.
Right.
I understand. So, but again, it isn't like we're digging holes and putting foundations in. Boulders can be taken out. Boulders can be modified as need be. So it's permanent, but not. Circling back on the bus diagram. So again, this came to us last meeting. But we also reviewed it at our design review committee. Just so people aware, from Massachusetts, basically the interaction with sort of the bus die under the Peace Bridge, connection to 190, all the way down to Virginia Street. This is a sort of a road reconfiguration, traffic calming, bike facility project. So the idea is taking the 40-foot right-of-way, which is currently a parking lane and 2 very wide travel lanes, and adding in a cycle track separated bike facility along the roadway on the whole stretch. Information, again, this is a city project. If you have comments in addition to what you want to bring here, you can reach out directly to the city, the website, and also email. But again, the Conservancy's review, and again, I use this little sort of orient you along the corridor. Here's Front Park. Here's sort of bus side Massachusetts, so follow the red dot. But this is an old historic Olmsted feature called the Bank, predating all of the Peace Bridge interaction. This was sort of the terminus of a larger, slightly diminished integrity. But the Conservancy is eager to preserve every bit we can. So in terms of comments at this end, we have some concerns about how this project ends in terms of connecting to the shoreline trail. No improvements along this crosswalk, which we're suggesting should be incorporated into the project. We're also suggesting correcting that, but also a concern we'll see a few different points in time. The idea here is putting in a 8-foot wide bike path. So you can see the dash line in the middle, so it separates sort of the two directions of bike travel, but it's being placed over the top of an existing sidewalk. So again, we're suggesting this needs to be a multimodal configuration, 12 feet wide, for a place for pedestrians as well. We can't just comment back into the city there. As we move further down the corridor, so now we're here in Vermont. They're currently suggesting that this is the location the cycle track continues on the east side of the street, and then it crosses over to the west side of the street along the edge of the park, right at Vermont. We're suggesting that this transition occur back a block at Rhode Island, and more of the alignment is along the park side. This is sort of our in this direction versus Vermont, which is one-way street the other direction. It's just a better spot to make that transition as a cyclist. Moving it along, so right in the center of the park, they're at Columbus Park West. They're proposing bump outs. We're suggesting along this stretch, because this is the one intersection where there is no stop sign and there is a speeding issue along this corridor. So we're suggesting this would be a good spot to introduce a speed hump. And then just some technical issues. There's a drain inlet that is getting relocated by the bump out and not marked on the plan. So just a comment there. And then a number of comments with regard to this more complicated interchange between cycle track, a left turn, transition from cycle track to bike lanes across Porter Avenue, and introduction of other corridors. So a lot happening at that intersection. So again, they got that cycle track on top of a sidewalk. They're placing a sign directly in front. We'll circle back on this, but currently they're maintaining 2 travel lanes in both directions on this roadway. From what we know about traffic volumes in this area, one travel lane will suffice for the volume of traffic. We'll circle back on that again. Same thing on Porter Avenue itself. And so tied to that, so annual average daily traffic, AADT, along West Avenue is barely over 2,000 vehicles a day. When we talk about road diets, 18,000 vehicles a day are the highest limits in terms of going from 1 lane to 2. So this is way below the need for 2 travel lanes. And additionally, Porter Avenue, you think of that as like, well, that's an access road to the thruway. It's not even half the necessary volume. So just like Porter Avenue up closer to the park here, it could be 1 lane all the way down to the thruway. So we're suggesting that they consider that.
1 lane westbound?
Yeah, so just circling back. So yeah, 1 lane each direction, same way it is.
Oh, I see, 1 lane each direction. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, this is a 1-way road. So yeah, this
right, 1 lane each direction.
And the final and sort of more all-encompassing comment is, these are some preliminary comments that the Conservancy has brought up. These are comments that came up at the meeting. Some of these comments came up at the meeting last week we had, but this hasn't gone to the Bike Ped Advisory Board yet. So we want to hear what they have to say before we would finalize our opinions as well. So we're suggesting that, which they're definitely going to do at some point. Wait and see. But that is sort of recapping on where things got introduced to us last year. Any other thoughts or any other questions? A lot going on these slides. Happy to help clarify if anyone needs it. But a great project along Busti Avenue that the city took on. These connections will, strengthen connections to the Shoreline Trail and all the improvements they made along Niagara Street to and through this neighborhood, which is going to see massive changes with Centennial Park investments. So this sort of strengthens those on-road connections there as well.
Is the Centennial Park Committee people at all involved in any of these discussions?
They may be separately. The city reached out to the Conservancy to get in through the Olmsted Community Alliance and to our Design Review Committee.
Okay.
How they're engaging Centennial, I'm not sure. But. All right, keep moving it along. Project updates. So now we sort of celebrate some projects. Prospect Avenue or Prospect Park pathways. Got some good before and after pictures now. So here's pre-project, a lot of broken concrete pathways. We have restored connections with more curvilinear asphalt pathways to and from Niagara Street in the shelter building. Around the shelter building, again, the broken concrete and the trees growing out of the foundation. We have sort of prepared ourselves for the next phase of priority for this park, which is restoration of this building, the internal components of the building, and potentially getting more activation. So in preparation for that, we installed sort of a larger outdoor concrete pad for spillover, whether it's a concession or a community space out into the outdoors of the park.
Brian, are those new pathways going to be plowed somehow in the winter?
Yeah, so that's sort of the third improvement. You can't really, didn't get any of these to scale, but this is a 6 foot wide path that's been encroached on, so really 5 feet edge to edge on asphalt. And all the pathways are now 8 feet wide. And that is wide enough for us to just quickly plow them. You know, certainly, you know, basically when you go from 6 to 8, you could just bring a plow truck and zip, you're done, versus unloading a snow blower and taking all day to do this sort of project. So it's gonna just greatly enhance not only just the usability of the paths, which again were really too narrow, but also enhance our maintenance. So a very nice project that now we just basically, other than the contractor getting rid of their construction area, their containment zone, just need the grass to grow in and we're good to go. Oh, the last thing is benches. So unfortunately, we are replacing all of these old rickety benches that were throughout the park, half broken in some cases. However, while we have our beautiful bench pads ready and waiting, supply chain issues with, I don't know whether it's iron or whether it's the special hardwood that we use for our bench slats. They are still about 2 months away, is what our contractor has told us. So bench places to sit in the park, unfortunately, are going to be a 2023 edition.
Unless you sit on a boulder.
So, a great improvement project that's wrapping up. The next phase that we've been talking about, while we still have a lot of fundraising to do for, you know, the sort of visible improvements, the city through their community development block grant program is bidding out a project or rebidding a project later this month with this scope including dealing with hazardous material abatement. That's just, you know, the what is it that's in
lead paint and asbestos.
Asbestos,
yeah.
So that is just inherent in a lot of caulk and a lot of, you know, conduit. So dealing with those hazardous materials, but we're not talking about 55-gallon drums of following hazardous material. Also selecting utility upgrades and replacing a ceiling. So, you know, over $100,000 worth of investment in the building, a lot of it sort of behind the scenes, but setting the stage and money we don't have to raise for those meaningful improvements in the next step. So that is the next project for this area that we're eager to get done. Now that we've improved the pathways, create a little outdoor area right here, is make improvements to what is a restroom facility and a community space, potentially a concession. Any thoughts or concerns about that moving forward? All right. Continue to keep this on the agenda as things move slowly, but spoke to the Arts Commission, and there has been movement. So the Italian American Federation has provided the city with a letter of intent to put a proposal together. So the paperwork has been sent to them, and the Arts Commission is waiting for the details of the proposal to get sent back to them. As opposed to the last couple of meetings where nothing had happened, something is starting to happen. However, the Arts Commission hasn't received anything clarifying what is understood to be a modification from a Columbus monument to a more sort of familial, sort of welcome to America kind of celebration of immigrant communities. So that again, as we hear more, you will hear more. Days Park, turning over to sort of some of the ongoing issues we've been discussing in previous meetings. Action steps that have been taken. I believe, Mary, did you see this meeting in action?
I did.
All right, so you can confirm that it happened, but I got the report back from operations that met on site with sort of master horticulture mind, Jim Horning Sr. from Elmer's Nursery, with some recommendations on how to deal with the ongoing turf issue. So he's, for starters, recommending some additional tree canopy pruning to let more light in, developing, again, sort of figuring things out, but developing that there's going to need to be a watering and fertilizer plan ongoing. It's going to have to get incorporated into our operations plan. The thing that is happening, in the short term is soil sampling and soil analysis of those samples.
They took samples today.
Took samples. Okay, so that's in the works. So that should be a couple weeks. We should have that back in terms of fertility, hydrology. But the key recommendation they said was, his recommendation is needs to be coordination with the neighborhoods and with the school. So the only other caveat of that is just noting that we talked about in the last meeting in terms of concerns in the district. The consensus was that community concerns are going to be best sort of filtered through the organization if they still come to me and Z, and we'll get them to the right people, get you the feedback you need, versus handing out a lot of phone numbers, etc. And also always welcome to call 311 as well. But
what does that mean? Like, I understand the chain of communication, but what would we call 311 about?
If you really wanted to just, if you didn't feel like you were getting the answers from us, 311 would sort of document the concern, and then it would come back to the Conservancy through the 311 system. So I would never leave that out, because we would suggest you could just work with the Conservancy and we won't ignore you, we won't kick you to the side.
But it could be like the garbage pickup, if somebody wanted to call, it has been rectified the way that it should have been. So
you don't pick up the garbage though, city does, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But yeah, just this flow of information is best so that we could be on the hook to keep tabs on everybody.
And we have, I would like to say that the Conservancy has been a great partner to the Days Park Block Club and Elmwood Village. I think we're well on our way of doing what we want to do to have the kind of coordination that we have. It's really worked well. And Z was great getting me, I have flags now to put out when there's certain areas. I don't know if anybody ran cross country, they have cross country flags, but put them out to mark off areas after a large rain. And the last time we had a large rain, I did go out and mark them off, and they did stay off.
One class. There's one class in the red zone.
And then after that, there were no more. So I may be out there again tomorrow morning. I'll have to resend my email and go out there and probably mark off.
Does it make sense to have a sign also, like, that just says, please don't walk on the turf today, right? just so people, like, we know what the flags are for, and the school knows what the flags are for, but other people may be like, oh, new golf holes, or like, you know. So and I'm not suggesting that is immediate, but maybe just a sign saying, you know,
like a lawn sign, or
yeah, just something that gets stuck in, like, please stop the turf today, like you have for places that you're regenerating, small areas, but please stay off the turf today because of the rain. Like, if you give people a reason, it's helpful to them.
I can only carry so many things.
I know, but I'm home. We'll get dressed. So the day Jim Horton was out there, I got a call from my neighbor. Mary, there's all these Olmsted people in the park. I'm meeting with this older man.
That wasn't
right. And I go, Kelly, I have my pajamas on. And she was, oh no, Mr. Phillips is out there now too. I'm a little worried. And I go, Kelly, go out. She goes, I have my pajamas on too. It's like 10:30 in the morning. So I went out and got dressed. I texted Jimmy Coyle. It was like, we know only our block club leader is dressed at 10:30.
He's Jimmy Coyle is a former student.
Yes,
Really?
yes.
He was a Da Vinci?
Yeah. And I know that because we had a lovely conversation.
Yes, and one time when I had a flat tire and I had to pull into the maintenance garage because I got it right there. Well, I don't know, one of the guys from the maintenance garage was trying to help me, and then Jimmy Coyle came along too and was helping me. That was a couple of years ago, but yeah, he is a former student. Fortunately, like me, so that's we're in good shape.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so the last time was sort of introduced to the ongoing collaboration. Was there any more elaboration to be done on that, or it seems like it's?
I believe it's better. In terms of the park usage, people are more aware, and I do hear teachers going, leave nature alone. Like, don't pick up acorns and throw them at each other. So I think it's better, and you know,
it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen all at once, but I think we've made good steps. We have good communications, which I think is the most important.
Great.
And I think you know, a real shout out to Z Kelly and them for taking this on. This is a big thing. No one has tried to run over any of us since they picked their children up from school, so we know we're making progress. Although 2 parents did drive over the park to get their kids on time the other day.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that was because initially, earlier in the week, a bus ran over one of the boulders at the end of the street. And then they couldn't figure out what to do. But then they got the boulder sorted back. They left it there. And then I was actually behind another bus who tried to take a turn too quickly and ran into the boulder. And apparently they don't have anyone on the bus that can help the bus back up. So someone from the school had to run down. This is like at 7:45 in the morning. And so we're waiting behind the bus patiently, me and 3 or 4 other cars, and 2 of them decided not to be patient. Just drove right across the park. Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, we want the boulders, right? I mean, they protect the park.
Yeah, they just need to
You'd think they'd be a deterrent in and of themselves, but sometimes I don't know, wait till when you hit them.
Yeah, so.
So just some final wrap up for the year. We always know with these big healthy trees in Days Park, a lot of leaves come down. So a placeholder, November 12th from 9 to noon. Leaf raising and bulb planting event.
Oh, good. Okay.
You know, Christy will watch the weather, but if you want to circulate that, or you can coordinate directly with you, Debbie.
Is that a Saturday?
It's a Saturday morning.
Okay, so perhaps it's possible to invite like some of the teachers or that.
Well, what we had discussed, my idea is, and now that we have an actual date for this, I would like to have like a week-long kind of thing in conjunction with Elmwood Village, where we would invite classes to come out, like 2 or 3 classes a day, maybe do a little leaf raking, you know, make some leaf piles, they can jump in the leaf piles and we'll rake them back up. just so that they can be involved. And they thought that was good when we talked about it. So I'm going to ask Kelly to schedule a meeting, hopefully pretty soon now.
Maybe they can plant bulbs around the fountain too, because they would be fairly easy to plant in.
Where is the bulb? Like, what kind of bulbs are we planting?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can put those around the fountain. I don't see why not.
I think that would.
And that would be a good idea if maybe the school could do that.
Yeah.
Are you thinking like a leaf breaking activity for
throughout
the week?
Yeah.
Engage the
students. I thought that a few of our neighbors, could come out during that week. It would be the week before. Come out and do, like if the classes come out, I could come out, or Kelly could come out, or anybody else that's home during the day. And break with them and get to know them a little bit.
Which week? So you say the week before the 12th?
Yeah, so if the block club and the Olmsted volunteer thing is the 12th, so the week before that, which would be Veterans Day, is that week. So there's probably not school on that Friday.
So maybe like just Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, so maybe like Wednesday and Thursday, or maybe we could do Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday as a rain day.
Do you think that will work? Do you think that's fine from a volunteer?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to coordinate with Christy on her availability to be there each time, but between Christy and Anthony and his team, or anyone else.
I mean, even if
okay,
it would be great if somebody could come from the Conservancy, but if they can't.
We might need rates, other than that. Yep. That would be a lot of fun. The kids, my kids always like breaking up leaves.
Yeah, and I thought, if they break them up and we allow them to jump in them.
Yeah.
So the 9th is a Wednesday, and
8th, 9th, 10th. 8th and 9th, but 10th is a rain day.
Yeah.
8th and 10th? No.
Nope. 8th and 9th, 10th is a rain day.
10th is.
Yeah, I think 2 days is probably good.
Yeah.
What time were you thinking?
I think the school.
Yeah,
hopefully
we'll have another meeting, and probably you would be there. See, I would imagine you'd be invited to the meeting just like you were last time.
Okay.
So we can hash out, whatever we need to at that point in time.
Sounds good. Maybe I'll ask our volunteer person to join us too.
Yeah,
so that
would be great.
Straightforward.
Yeah, I'll see. I was actually thinking about that on my way over here. About asking Kelly to set up another meeting. Both Kellys.
Just some circling back on things from last meeting as a wrap up. It was brought up the idea of whether Johnson Park could be incorporated into the Olmsted maintenance regime. We did some digging. Well, there's a lot of great history and cool, interesting stuff related to Johnson Park. Ebenezer Johnson, the first mayor of Buffalo, designated this parkland back in the 1850s. There was no evidence found to date of Olmsted consultation in the design of the park, and it is confirmed not to be part of our National Register listing, which is the foundation of our maintenance contract agreement. So at this point in time, a very cool little park. It wouldn't be in the Conservancy's mission, and probably would not amend our maintenance contract.
He did include it in his drawing for the Paris 1876 Paris exhibition.
Look at the big drawing of the city.
Within the big drawing of the city.
Yeah.
And I know that this issue has been debated for decades, but I have never seen Johnson Park plan in the Olmsted archives, except for the drawing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's logical that when you're drawing green space, you're going to draw all of it.
Right.
So that's wrapping up that story, and then there's been some follow-up, really mainly by Councilmember Rivera's office in coordination with Assemblymember Rivera on following up with the Empire State Development on the condition of the Hutchinson Chapel, specifically the roof. and there is a grant to be executed to replace the roof that was anticipated to happen in 2022. Looks like it's in 2023, but it is moving forward through the paperwork process. Like clarity on exactly when, it is in the works to get some investment. So demolition by neglect is hopefully not in the near-term future for the Hutchinson Chapel. So with that, that sort of gets us through all of the topics of the day in previous meetings, and sort of as we usually do, open the floor for any new business, new concerns. Mary Simpson.
Mary Simpson is speaking any of these issues to our block club president. They're pretty simple. A lot of them you already answered. The bushes around the inside the gate of the fountain. What are we going to do about that?
So I was just out there looking around. I think I'm going to recommend as a maintenance activity of cutting those back this year to about 6 inches. They are sort of built to regenerate themselves.
Well, there's rose bushes, maple trees, and one barberry bush still there.
So I think as we cut the roses back, we're going to have a better chance of getting at all of those other invaders. But we do need to schedule a
will they do it? I mean, I did it for a number of years, and then I would just do the part I could see from my porch and not the other half, and then I just kind of got out of.
Yeah, either
does your maintenance crew know where the key is to the gate of the fountain? As I mentioned it to Jimmy Coyle in an email, but I don't know if it needs to be stated somewhere specifically that it's in my mailbox. They can come and get it at any time. I just want them to know that it's there. Generally speaking, someone is around my house, but not always.
I will verify that Jimmy passed along, but Jimmy's role is now to communicate to all the district supervisors. So hopefully him and Anthony, I think they were meeting either today or yesterday.
Okay. And if there's, if they need help, like someone to break them up or bag them, I think people in the neighborhood would be happy to assist with that.
Yep. I'd say that dealing with roses is typically an early spring project. So maybe like a early spring rose.
You can cut them down early in the spring. It'll be all right.
Oh yeah.
Then we have to do it in the fall.
No, typically you do rose pruning in the spring.
Okay. All right.
I don't think it would hurt if we did it in the fall, but I think I may not even be right about that. But typically you deal with roses. Okay. This is like early. This is like it's like March. Do that.
The other thing is the updates to the National Register. Is Days Park going to be included in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, probably more comprehensively than.
If you need anything from me, like pictures, photographs, postcard photographs, I have all that.
So what we'll be doing is, there'll certainly be staff involvement, and we might even be making a pitch for volunteer involvement, because there's a lot of
that'd be fun.
Surveying and documenting things that needs to happen. There's a lot of walking around taking pictures of stuff. Potentially geolocating with some sort of GPS device. So, but we are going to be hiring a consultant to do all this work. So professional leadership that we can certainly dump all kinds of information in their lap. And they'll filter through it. And
then one more question is, do we know what all the trees are in Days Park? At one time there was a tree survey and they put little tags on everything. Is that still accurate, not accurate? Are we becoming a forest of Norway maples now? Or we still have a fairly healthy tree canopy of different trees? Yeah, so the tree planting has slowed a little bit since the October storm, when we were planting 300 trees every spring and fall. Yeah. The fundraising around trees has slowed. We've transitioned a little bit more to working in the Olmsted natural areas. So gave a little general description of that, but introducing smaller plant material into those areas. That's lower maintenance to get established, and they're kind of on their own. But the existing tree canopy
is maintained, and that database is maintained by Mike Sawyer, our forestry manager, and he even catalogs when he comes in and does a pruning. He notes in the record of that tree pruned October 2022. So yeah, those records, even though the little silver tags are gone in a lot of cases or whatnot, like we're not relying on those little tags. So it's all GPS tracks.
And is the sense that the trees are still pretty okay on Days Park in terms of diversity and stuff, or no?
Diversity, I mean, it's not incredibly diverse, but they're good native trees with sugar maples and red oaks. You know, there's the London Plains, there's a couple Norway maples, the Amelanchier, maybe a couple of red maples. Okay. We lost a few ash trees.
Yes. And the stumps. I like the stump.
Lost the stump, yeah. So, I mean, if we did come back in and ever want to do more planting in Days Park, we would probably try and avoid red maples and sugar maples, or red oaks and sugar maples, plant something else.
Okay.
To increase diversity the way we do elsewhere in the parks.
Okay. Doesn't seem like we need any more trees.
More trees. Right down the middle, the way it used to be. The dogwood trees, are they China dogwoods? Or are they native, more native? Do you know what they are? Do you remember?
Those are Kusa dogwoods. Japanese. K-O-U-S-A.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's just, there is a flowering dogwood. It is native, but it has like horrible anthracnose issues, so the leaves are always looking terrible. This is just an easy growing.
They look nice.
Okay, they look beautiful.
They are really nice.
They're beautiful in the spring when they bloom. They're beautiful this fall.
I don't know why some bloom better than others. I don't know what the deal is with that.
They're just gorgeous.
Yeah, they were very nice this year.
Yeah.
If anything, I think in the maintenance plan, perhaps a little bit of pruning should be done to sort of eliminate a lot of branches. Mm-hmm. They're starting to get more established, so it's time to thin a little bit. Yeah, so other than that, unless there's any other issues, so we're, you know, we continue to outreach to everyone we can think of. If there are other groups that come to mind, we're always looking to increase our outreach and contemplate, you know, who is at these meetings. Obviously, a lot of people are not at these meetings. How do we try and get them there with better advertising in a number of ways? Right now, the placeholder is January 11th, 2023. Over the next 3 months, we are going to have some internal discussions about the format of these meetings, the frequency of them, whether, you know, some of these meetings could be sort of equally successful as just a newsletter report out that people can read at their leisure versus a physical meeting, maybe just 100% to Zoom in certain times of year. But so we're going to continue to evaluate, you know, based on attendance, involvement, you know, what makes the most sense. We need to, you know, attempt to grow this, but obviously, you know, turnout is something we really try and get the numbers up if we're going to make the effort of this for you. So we'll keep you in the loop on that.
Do you guys know of any existing community groups that get together regularly, like block club meetings or any where I can go and visit, or like I can connect with the organizer and maybe say something about it?
So as neighborhoods get less, have less issues, there are less meetings.
Okay.
If people don't show up, that means people feel comfortable and safe and they don't have any major issues. When there's a major issue, everybody comes. We can probably ask the Allentown Association for a list.
The Allentown Association might be
block clubs.
Even just to come to an Allentown Association meeting.
Yeah.
Because there might be people there that would represent. It's on your list, but you know, if you came in person and just did a little presentation, then maybe somebody would say,
yeah,
oh, you know, I live in wherever, or I live by this circle, maybe I'll go to it.
Yeah.
Their annual meeting is October 25th. And you can just come.
Like so basically it's kind of like public meetings, especially if we're trying to reach different community groups. Maybe they don't speak English, maybe they don't have time to carve out in the evening to come to the meeting. Whereas if they're already gathering in a place for maybe like a block club party or an event, maybe that's a place where if we can set up a table there to put out like plans that you show and say like, this is the plan for Prospect Park, this is the new pathways, we're putting new benches here. It's like things like that where the people are already there, we're going to them and present. So that's the other angle we're hoping to take more next year, to go to where the masses are already gathering instead of asking them to come to us. Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So if you think of any events like that.
Excuse me, Brian, one more issue.
Yes.
They killed the cow project, and they're rebidding the art project. They're rebidding the project as of today, and we need to really kind of, I'm trying to get them to clarify the extent of the project. Is it just where that parking area is? Is it the brick area? And while it's not on Days Park, it influences the viewscape at Days Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a discussion of whether some of it should be more porous material than concrete would be appropriate. Excuse me.
Who at the city is the lead?
Right now it's Emerson Bauer and it's the Buffalo Arts Commission. Norm Lewin is on it, and he's been really kind of giving me the heads up on things. But it feels appropriate that the Conservancy can kind of step in and say, well, we want to make sure that this is a green space along with this concrete, whatever it's going to end up being. Because they never, I kept saying, we want some kind of rain garden or something here rather than just concrete. And they're like, no, we just do concrete.
I know the city's stance has been anti paver. So in terms of sort of porous materials, typically those sort of porous pavers are the best way to do that, and the city can just sort of unilaterally doesn't include them just because they're harder to maintain. More cracks for grass to grow up through. So they've always been pretty much concrete or open space. But yeah, certainly happy to weigh in. I know you've lobbed the ball our way a couple of times before, and I haven't picked it up quite like you hope. But yeah, I think certainly following up. I mean, I do wonder where the line is drawn between what Emerson has control over and what is still a roadway project that I don't know whether it's Tom Duke or Eric Schmarter.
For the Elm Street?
Alex Bullers, I don't know if any of those.
Alex was, he's on the committee for Elm Street?
I think so.
And he was involved in the project. Emerson was more like the person sending out notices and things like that. Mm-hmm. David Granville was bouncing off walls about it in a lot of ways, to the point where some people don't want to be on a committee again. Mm-hmm. It's managed like that. It was during COVID. There was a lot of Zoom meetings. So.
Okay, well, I can make another call with Alex on.
There's a meeting tomorrow too. Tomorrow's the next.
Debbie goes to all the. Debbie has taken her volunteer position, even though I have been sending her articles about how they pay the block club president in New York City $119,000 a year. She's been taking this very seriously, and she's been going to all the construction meetings for Elm Street.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see, not always, people think I'm, as a environmentalist, preserve the trees, but they're Norway maples, and they've grown about 6 inches in the last 30 years. Maybe we move on from them and sort of get a clean slate of better tree selections in that area. So
so the thing about those trees, they're at the height right now that they provide privacy to the people at 260 Allen or 260, and Wes is building it. What's something Days Park? Those little decrepit, always constantly dying trees are the privacy hedge.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot.
Yeah, it's to be sensitive to that.
No.
But, yeah, let me follow up and certainly. Yeah.
I wonder, you were talking about how you were consulted on the roadway project of, on bus stop, which touches the edge of the park. I wonder if the Conservancy should be consulted in that project because it touches the edge of historic Days Park.
I can, if you think you have the bandwidth, I can contact Mitch and make sure you are consulted.
Yeah, I mean, certainly should at least get a look at it.
Okay.
So
yeah,
sure
and what I can do when they have the meetings, they have an opportunity for any of the stakeholders to speak. Mm-hmm. So I may just say that I've heard that this has been canceled, and I think it would be really good if when we do the next go around for this, if there's a broader consultation like the Olmsted Parks Conservancy, and see where it goes. Might not go anywhere. But what they usually say is we're not responsible for that Parks. But at least if I say it, then it's in their minutes.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So,
right.
But there's certainly precedent. I mean, we've been engaged through the redevelopment of the Gate Circle Hospital. The Fillmore Hospital site. And that is adjacent to.
Right. It's not actually an Olmsted space, but it touches the Olmsted space.
All right.
Well, you have so much to do, right?
30 minutes early, 7 o'clock.
Nice job.
All right. I can look if you want to just see if I have a little bit more of that sort of bigger picture slides. Considering
do you need contact information to interview? Or you want to interview them?
Do you want to interview one from Olmsted, and if you both are free, one from Days Park Club?
It's whatever you want to do.
What do you think would help you most? I guess the Conservancy is a nonprofit that takes care of all the parks, Olmsted parks in the city of Buffalo. Days Park Block Club is not a nonprofit, but a block club, which is instrumental. Block clubs are throughout the city of Buffalo, and they are instrumental in advocating for their block and their neighborhood, basically. So their group is very focused relating to us, Days Park, which is a small pocket park in the city. Are you guys familiar with Allentown, the area? Yeah, so there's like that long little park where there's the one-way street that goes like that.
Yes. They need to make a left on Days Park. Days Park was donated, the second piece of parkland donated to city. It's perpetual parkland.
And Johnson Park was the first.
And Johnson Park was the first in 1859. Thomas Day built 2 houses for his children. He had a lot of property. They spent 2 generations